Assalamu alaikum, peace be upon you. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. In the name of God, the most gracious and the most merciful. Welcome to the Sabah Show. This is the round table with me, Aisha Khan. Now we are coming to you live from the heart of the city center. This is Horizon TV, the premier Islamic station. Now remember, you can follow us on our social media pages. That is at Horizontv Kenya on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Of course, I have with me here Edwin Ayiro to put things into perspective, and then I have with me Keegan. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Now let's look at the stories making the top headlines in the country. Now on the Star we have Mount Kenya leaders at war with BBI report. ODM leaders say Central Kenya lawmakers opposed to a parliamentary system of government are enemies of the handshake, demand honest discussion. Edwin, what do you have to say about this?
Well, the leaders are expressing concerns from their region, and clearly, as I was reading through the story, they were saying our region has been left behind, so we wonder how, because the president comes from there, and we've had Kibaki from there, so how is it? But again, they are entitled to their opinion, and as Kenyans, they are tasked to represent their people and make sure that they are negotiating a better deal for their people, and that's exactly what they are doing, and they're being politically correct. So it's upon the country to share if this BBI is coming with any sort of benefit. But again, this BBI has been seen as creating positions for some leaders, but not necessarily addressing the issues that Kenyans face. You see, the informing reason for the BBI was to I would call it a ceasefire after the 2017 general election. In this country we've had electoral violence, post-electoral violence, and it happened in 2007, and in 2013 again we were there, 2017 we were there. So why is this so perennial? It is not even a matter of winner take all. It is also a matter of conducting elections in accordance with the law, and in respect to the chapter 6 of the Kenyan Constitution, and adhering fully to the IEBC Act. We've had convoluting interest and so many other interests that threaten to scuttle the integrity and the transparency of elections, and that's what has been causing problems in this country. It's not because somebody lost elections, but because when a leader loses elections and then he says these elections have been rigged, I've been denied my victory, and the leader has supporters, and people go up in arms. So if we fix the issue of electoral malpractice, then we'll have dealt decisively with it. But just fixing people somewhere, it's not really addressing holistically. So we must also be truthful and faithful to the Constitution and the principles thereof. But again, the leaders are well within their rights. So BBI, we don't have the report yet. We are just speculating, given what we've been fed, by the media, the perceptions here and there. And you had leaders like Raila Odinga come out publicly speaking about this BBI and saying there is a referendum coming, a referendum to alter the structure of leadership to accommodate a prime minister and so many. But again, whatever action or decision we take, it must be in the best interest of this country. Look at right now the state of our economy. It is just appalling. So we need to fix our economy. We need to get our young people to work, because even if you put a leader there but you don't fix the issue of unemployment, it remains a time bomb. And somebody I have great respect for, Francis Atwoli, on one of the media stations last Wednesday said this issue of unemployment, it is threatening a rebirth. And I fully agree with him. Young people are growing disgruntled. Young people are growing unease. So we need to fix that one. The government needs to turn on programs deliberately to lessen tension, to lessen pressure, so that at least young people are getting, even if it is 6-month contract and they get something, they can start something with the monies they get. That one will be helping to address and reduce the pressure of unemployment in this country.
Thank you so much for that, Edwin. Coming to you, Keegan, what do you have to say about this?
This makes me very sick, looking at the BBI report, and I don't know what, this is just wasting the time, attention, and money for Kenyans. You know, the same Star, a couple of weeks, if not months ago, they said that BBI is now opting for purely just reforms and not going to a referendum because there are propositions that they may even lose the referendum. You know, looking at all these BBI and the whole referendum kind of thing, it lacks legitimacy to me. You know, it's not really genuine. Seeing it as people have argued that it's a two-man affair. People have argued that, you know, maybe this is supposed to serve the interest of some people. I really don't think this is the conversation that we should be having as a country. We have more, you know, pressing things and which are more important. We should get our priorities right. Because honestly, right now we are having an issue of layoffs. People are losing their jobs. For the people who are losing their jobs, are we making sure that they are getting a fair deal when they are going home? For those that will remain, their workload will automatically increase.
Of course.
Is that being reflected in their salaries? I mean, these are just sideshows that are wasting our time and attention. We have more things to focus on, and I think this is the tragedy of Africa and Kenya particularly, because you find our politicians they uphold a discourse, you know, and the same citizens we take and we join the bandwagon, and we don't fix, we run away from the real issues that affect us at the end of the day.
Again, just one point on that one. This Building Bridges initiative, if indeed it was truly a bridge, somebody like William Ruto needed to speak or to read from the same script as President and Raila Odinga. You cannot ignore the influence of William Ruto in this country, because if this Building Bridges is supposed to bring all Kenyans together, and then the president at least needed to have a consultative forum with his Jubilee troops and tell them this is the way to go. And so that we do not have leaders speaking from different scripts. William Ruto is saying this BBI is not good, president is saying BBI is good. Raila Odinga says we are for BBI, and other leaders, you know, say we even do not know what it is. So if this thing is for the best interest of this country, we need leaders to pull together. Let us just have a forum like the power breakfast, the breakfast meeting we normally have at you know, in June, hosted by Parliament, so that at least we need to pull together. Let William Ruto join the rest, so that he doesn't appear to be speaking from the sidelines.
Kigen does not seem to be in agreement here.
You know, let's be realistic, okay?
Yeah.
Let's have a normal curve. You know, we can never have everybody on the same page. You know, you and I and all of us, the three of us here, we can never think the same, you know. We'll always have a difference of opinion. That is the human nature. So it's okay for somebody to have a contrary opinion, and, you know, that is safeguarded in the Constitution. You know, you have the right to curb your own opinion.
But isn't this dividing our country?
It's not dividing our country. You know, me disagreeing with you doesn't make me your enemy. And Kenyans have to get that right. You know, a political difference doesn't make us enemy. It's just an ideological difference. But at the end of the day, my stand on this is this. We cannot have, you know, such kind of discussions currently. The constitution that is there, trust me, it's very good. We just not implementing it as we should, and that's why, you know, we are having all the fracas that we should. Currently, you can't take all these billions and take them to a referendum, and we are having our athletes stranded in South Africa. I mean, what kind of a country are we becoming?
Very true. Now, you had touched on this topic of unemployment in our country, and of course layoffs, where you find, you know, people are going home and sitting there. What can be done in Kenya as a country for us to, you know, curb this unemployment? Because you find each and every year people are graduating. What are they going to school to do if you will come out with a paper and you're going to beg for a job and you've paid for university, Edwin?
Number one, the issue of unemployment came about as a result of misplacing priorities. This problem, I cannot say the government didn't see it coming. When President Kibaki was leaving office, he left a solid and working economy. You could feel the functionality of the economy. President Kibaki left a very small debt margin. Right now, we are surpassing 60% of our GDP, debt to GDP ratio. That's very, very dangerous. Because when GDP hits the 60% mark of debt, then that means the GDP growth rate is stifled. It is being suppressed. That means we can't do significant investment. I've just seen in the papers, investors are now shying off because of the debt to GDP ratio. They no longer see Kenya as viable business-wise, and that is hurting employment, because when investors come, that is employment. They are going to pay taxes to the government. We are going to meet our fiscal deficit. But when they don't come, and the government is not spending, you know, one of the challenges again that we are facing is the government is not spending. That's why we are fiscally strained, because money is allocated to ministries or for, you know, for implementing programs. Many of these ministries are not implementing.
So where is all this money going to if they're not spending?
Aisha, you know, he has said about 60%, right? But that is what the guys at Treasury and CBK say. But from where I sit, I think we are at 70. If the government,
which is even more dangerous.
Yeah, he has said that the government is not spending. The government is spending, but as they say, kwa ground vitu ni different. Where I give Ayiro a contract worth 2 billion, okay? The government has released money. He's a contractor. You know, the government is spending by giving him the money. But then the guy doesn't do the job at the ground. You see? So at the end of the day, the government doesn't spend. Because by the government spending, for example, building a road, the guys who live nearby there, they'll be given those hands-on jobs to do. They'll have money in their pockets. They'll have money to feed their children and their families and healthcare and education. You know, that is how it's structured. And the government and the jobs are the kind of unemployment that we have currently in Kenya is that it's not that if I have graduated, I just don't get, I'm just not creating any source of income. It's that the kind of unemployment is this: I have a master's degree, but I'm in a car wash.
Sad.
You see, I have a degree, but I'm a cleaner. You know, so the job does not meet the job. What you've studied does not meet what you're doing, and that is why you always hear this kind of conversation where you need connections. You need connections, and what does it tell you? It tells you need connections, or you have to use some shrewd way to get employed, because the opportunities are few. If these opportunities were enough, we wouldn't need connections. It would be simply by way of merit. And this narrows down to businesses. If businesses are not operating well, they can't employ people.
Very, very
We need to fix our business environment. Because again, businesses that are coming up are creating employment. Absolutely. And that's what we need to do. We need to empower SMEs. We need to put money in the hands of young people who have a plan, a solid plan on implementing this. And then taxman should not just be focused on collecting taxes. So you just set up today, tax money is there tomorrow. Absolutely. You've not even grown that business to even know how much money is coming in. Tax money is there waiting. So we need young people to be given incentive. We need taxman to hold brief, especially for SMEs, so that they are given time to reorganize and to solidify. Let's say after 6 months, then taxman can start coming and say, hey, can we now look at your, so that we know what is due for us. We pray for a day that happens.
But I don't see that happening anytime soon. You know, we had this conversation wholesomely with Ibtisam Jamal on Wednesday, you know, and we were discussing how the government is frustrated, you know, with its debts. You know, the debts are maturing. We saw Eurobond mature this year. So there is that rush to pay these loans. And the best way the government can do that currently is either to sell its assets, selling KQ, selling Kenya Posta, but of course it can't do that at the moment. What it does is goes for the taxes. So it taxes the businesses more and more and more and more. And and you know, once you're taxed, your selling price increases, you can't compete, you go home.
Very sad situation. Now moving on to the Daily Nation. This is something that has spurred a lot of conversation on social media. Now we have Starehe Boy, Kenya's new captain of industry, corporate guru, appointment of the former EABL finance director as next Safaricom CEO, ends long search for a replacement for Bob Collymore, who died in July. It continues on page 6. Now, on social media, you know how Kenyans are. They will always throw comments. And there's this thing, him being a Kenyan and being in that position, they feel that now Safaricom will go down the drain. How true is that, Edwin?
This guy is in charge of 50 countries. All right? So in terms of holding the necessary qualifications, I have got no doubt that he's the best candidate. In any case, he's our own. He's our own son.
But why is it that when a Kenyan is appointed, okay, for example, if a foreigner was in that position today, there would be nothing negative because we put so much trust on the foreigners, yet our own Kenyans who are qualified and skilled, we do not have any confidence in them. Why?
Let me start from this point. You see, apartheid in South Africa and colonialism generally in Africa, it succeeded. It didn't fail. And the goal for colonialism was not to show the white man that you are better than a black man, or the black man that you are worse than a white man. It was to show the black man that you're not good enough. And trust me today, if you make it, it's not the white men who are going to fight you. It's your own black men who are going to fight you. You see? It's them who will come for you. And this issue, I mean, first of all, we have to recognize the fact that this guy is from the University of Nairobi. You know, he's an economist, a great guy, and I think his CV is fantastic. And it's going to be more inspiring even to Kenyans right now to see that the person who's running the most profitable company in Kenya at least is a Kenyan in the first place. So this is going to invite a lot of confidence in people, and it's going to make people, you know, feel part of Safaricom more, because you know Safaricom, you know, being having a British origin. Then we had a guy who was formerly who lived and worked in Britain and came to Kenya. So this will invite a lot of confidence, and I see him taking Safaricom to greater causes. And for me, I'll just tell Kenyans this in regard to this, that you know, currently things are changing, you see. And in as much as business may not be good and stuff, the businesses really have to sort of mutate themselves to fix the Kenyan model, you know, even by getting this kind of a CEO who's Kenyan and Kenyans employing Kenyans. And even if it's a multinational, please blend your products, even give them Kenyan names. You know, make it's going to boost your sales and stuff.
I wanted to say this.
Very briefly before we take a break.
Look at Governor Michael Patrick Njoroge, the governor of Central Bank of Kenya. Recently, he was voted the best performing central bank governor in the whole of Africa. That is our own son.
That's hope right there for us as Kenyans to rise up and believe in ourselves. Thank you so much for that, Edwin. Now we'll be taking a short break and we'll be right back. Remember, you can join in this conversation that is at Horizontv Kenya on Twitter, Facebook and Instagram. Assalamu alaikum. Let's brighten up your morning. I am Aisha Khan and you're watching the Sabah Show only on Horizon TV.
Horizon TV, the beacon for the nation.
How come Muslim men and women are not allowed to shake hands? Now, Muslim men and women are not supposed to shake hands because it is prohibited in the religion of Islam. And of course, as we said, this whole aspect, the hijab, the free mixing are all related. Therefore, we are not allowed to shake hands unless we are shaking hands with our mahrams, and that is to minimize fitna and of course to minimize anything that would come with the shaking of hands. Now, may I just mention that when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala prohibited zina, fornication, adultery, whichever we want to look at it, he did not just say do not commit, he said do not go near. And one of the things that would take us near zina is of course shaking hands, the eye contact and the other issues that we've been we've been taught. And it has been reported authentically that Rasulullah Alaihi Wasallam said it is better for a woman actually, for a man to hold a hot coal. And of course, we have incidents where there are those who've been asked, if you have to hold a woman's hand, then it's better you hold a hot coal than to hold her hand. So because of the fitna and what will come after that, we are not allowed to shake hands.
Horizon TV, the beacon for the nation.
Assalamu alaikum. Let's brighten up your morning. I am Aisha Khan and you're watching the Sabah Show. Only on Horizon TV. Healthy Thursday is not just about diseases. It's about food, lifestyle, milestones in the medical practitioner's field, especially in our Muslim Ummah, and more so, your health. Discover breakthroughs and milestones in the medical field. Learn how to manage diseases.
There was no painful.
Join the discussion. Make better decisions on your meal plans. Improve your lifestyle.
All the doctors who are there were tired of working in maternity and taking care of women. And they say, you are the new kid on the block, we are leaving this department to you.
Healthy Thursday is about you, about your family, your lifestyle. So keep it locked to Horizon TV on Healthy Thursday with me, Maria Mwacharo. We're coming to you live from the heart of the city center. This is Horizon TV, the premier Islamic station. And of course, we're looking at the stories making the top headlines in our country. Now, moving on to the standard. Catholic priest killed in cult ritual. Catholic priest. Now, our leaders, you know, this is not the first time we've seen such a story. And so are we losing our beliefs over money and fame?
Well, there are some people who would go to unimaginable lengths just to make some coins here and there. And you see, in this world, it's kind of like man-eat-man society. You see, if taking you out of my way is guaranteeing me away, somebody would do that. And we've seen in this. But again, you're going to sacrifice a man of God, a servant of God. That's just something.
Where have we gone wrong?
I think we've westernized too much. You know, we even doing better than the Westerners themselves. Put us on a benchmark with the Westerners. You find us overdoing what they do because we've copied and overcopied. Understand? You see, the civilization we are having here is not Africanized. It is westernized in Africa. So maybe, but again, it would look like it's already too late because right now, many people aren't giving too much emphasis on religion. In fact, in a few years to come, you'll walk into mosques and you find them empty. You walk into churches and you find them with no faithfuls because people are now pursuing other matters. You know, they're pursuing self-preservation and self-actualization, and they get lost somewhere in the middle. You know, and somebody says, why should I go to church? Why should I go to
But religion is supposed to guide you. Aren't our leaders doing what they have to?
It's not even about our leaders.
Okay.
It is now coming down to you as a person. What do you believe in? You understand? In Christianity, we have this group called atheists. They say, gee, there is no God, gee, there is no what. But again...
They are not even Christians.
They have no religion.
You see, atheists, and what are they doing? You understand? So, if those guys, you see right now, we are in an ideological setting. You appeal to people through the mind. And if you can launch a very good case and strong case, you'll win followers. And if those guys will be given airtime to make their case, trust me, they are going to win followers. Because right now, people are much on the head. It's the mind that is working. It is the brain. There's a lot of education that we are getting here and there. It's opening our minds and brains to so many things that couldn't have happened in the older days, you know. So we really need to come down to you as a person. What is good for you? You know, when you ask what is good for me, not going to church is good for me. What do you do?
Okay, Kingan.
You know, he has said that, you know, we are trying to copy the West and you know, that kind of an argument. But for me, I think the difference between us and the West, the West are assassinating people for money. Sisi tunaroga watu for money. You know, these are the kind of things that people do, you know. And this is a reflection of what even happens, you know, people, you see somebody, you know, in a society, you know, trying to grow, progress a bit, and kuna watu huko nyuma, they do their own things, you know. Something that struck me is that the guy who was confessing said that one of the reasons why in his application on the sort of Illuminati website, which I don't know if it's Illuminati, because for me, from my own reading, Illuminati are the people who are illuminated, you know, are the people who came to understanding of things. And Illuminati started by simply, these are the people who believed that the world was round and not flat. They were illuminated, they knew. And the reason why they remained very few people, it's because, me telling you, because people couldn't believe it. I mean, I tell you the world is round, you run on the other direction and you might fall. You know, this are the kind of thinkings of people, because people always want to keep their normal understanding. You know, it's the law of average. So I'm not sure, I don't understand if that is really Illuminati. But he says that in the website, he wrote that one of the reasons why he wanted to join the group was because he wanted to be the guy in the society. You know, he wanted to be felt. And this is what happens when you become a slave of money. I just want to submit to my fellow Kenyans and our viewers that one day you will die and you'll return to your maker. Just think twice.
What will you have to say? Wow. Now moving on to Taifa Leo, wafadhili wahepa Kenya. Hofu ya Kenya kulemewa na madeni ya chochea mataifa. Now, do you think it is time for Kenyans to venture into the manufacturing industry?
We are running behind schedule. Manufacturing provides job opportunities. Manufacturing drives the economy. Now, you need to be a producer of the means of production as well. And that's something now we need to focus on. In fact, in this country, we are highly an importing country. Yet, President Kibaki had a plan of constructing a fertilizer company, in a production company, so that we don't have to, you know, import fertilizer. Look at our sugar sector. This country has enough arable land that can grow cane. We have the Mumias, the Western Sugar Belt. Our sugar industry has crumbled because politicians have invaded into this sensitive matter and they have killed Mumias, so that they opened the floodgates of importing contraband sugar with mercury laces to kill Kenyans. You understand? You understand why the government is even dragging its feet in reviving Mumias sugar? Even the counties, the Kakamega, Bomet, Vihiga, Busia, those counties that are Kisumu, there was a plan to have these counties come together and revive this Mumias sugar so that it is their own. But again, conflict of interest, political allegiance, and political, you know, loyalty again plays part, and you find Mumia still on its deathbed. And if the government was serious about manufacturing and having it as an agenda under the Big Four agenda, President Kenyatta would have ordered for the bailout of Mumia sugar, and it's brought back to its production capacity. Because if Mumias is brought back to its production capacity. We are looking at jobs created. We are looking at a tax base. We are looking at a country that will now start to import, because look at the way Mumias collapsed. The government missed opportunities to modernize Mumias sugar. The government never took any step. It kept on postponing. When COMESA was issuing, timelines within which Mumias needed to modernize. Go to Uganda. Uganda, they have a sugar policy that their markets are the first primary consumers of sugar. So before they think of exporting sugar, they have to satisfy the local consumption. Do we have such a policy? We have collapsed companies. That's what we have. And we are not doing well. We are not doing well.
Manufacturing cannot succeed in Kenya.
Why?
And this is my reason. I've never seen a market so liberal as Kenya. Your textile company in Kenya, it cannot succeed if you're having mitumbas and all the other clothes coming from all the other countries. Okay? Mumia sugar, as he has said, it cannot succeed if you're having cheap sugar coming into Kenya. You cannot have a steel company in Kenya succeeding or prospering when you're having steel coming from other countries at an even cheaper rate. I mean, everything can come into Kenya. It's a very open economy. And that is where the problem starts. Number two, it's the cost of production. When you're having the price of electricity, I said this on Wednesday, the price of electricity per kilowatt at 16 shillings in Kenya, at 3 shillings in Ethiopia, and at 5 shillings in Uganda. Why should I come to Kenya? The cost of production, and adding to the cost of production are the taxes and policies that are being overhauled every year. You can have two policies being changed in one financial year. And before going into a financial year, what the companies and businesses do is they budget and they plan. So you're disrupting their plans. They can't compete in the market. Manufacturing at the moment, we have to do an overhaul of the system for manufacturing to prosper.
Thank you so much for that. Now we'll be taking a short break and we'll be right back. Assalamu alaikum. Let's brighten up your morning. I am Aisha Khan and you're watching the Sabah Show.
Only on Horizon TV.
Horizon TV, the beacon for the nation.
Akawa Abdul Muttalib ampenda sana Mtume sallam hata kushinda watoto wake. Na Abdul Muttalib, Mtume Muhammad sallam alikuwa ni mjukuu wake. Abu Talib na babake Mtume sallam dimba ndugu tumbo moja, mama moja, baba moja. Baada ya miaka miwili Abdul Muttalib kufa, alipofika miaka 10 wakaamua kufunga safari kwenda Sham, kwenda kufanya biashara. Faqala rahib, huyu mtoto akifika akionekana dola ya Rum watamuua. Akaamua kurudi kuweza kuishi katika mji wa Makka kwa mara nyingine.
How come Muslim men and women are not allowed?
Assalamu alaikum. Dear Imam Omar, I hope this finds you well. Life isn't all that exciting for me. I go to work, go shopping, go home, and aside from babysitting Fatima occasionally, don't really have much of a social life. Kareem from the masjid always asks me to come volunteer for stuff, and I usually back out. But this time I decided I'd spend the weekend with him and the rest of the guys on a camping trip. Or at least that's what I thought I'd be doing. I'm not the most responsible guy in the world. I flake on many of my obligations and tend to be last minute about everything. I prayed occasionally, but at times got halfway through my wudu before deciding something else was more important than the prayer. So I decided I'd hurry and catch the guys before they left. But Allah had a different plan. And that plan included me being unable to open a door I'd opened a million times before. So I figured I'd call Kareem and let him know this time I wasn't flaking on anything, but was just stuck in the bathroom. Makes perfect sense, right? And you say we have the best coverage in America. We often think we've got it all figured out, and that our contingency plans are too many for us to really get stuck in anything. Someone or something is always going to be there to bail you out. It's only a matter of time. But what happens when all that is taken away from you? And both the people and possessions you thought you could rely on start to fail you. At some point, you just want anybody to hear you. And the movements in the hallway create this sense of hope that someone's gonna come get you. You can hear them, and you know they can hear you. But then the sounds of the footsteps fade away, and you're left dejected, wondering if another person might pass by and hear your cries. But as you wait, you might as well entertain yourself as best as you can. It's pretty pathetic, I know, but sometimes imaginary friends are easier to deal with and can actually really keep you company. And they get boring too. And just like with any day of work, you come home, you go through your motions, and lights out. That wasn't exactly what I had in mind. And before I knew it, my bathroom started to seem more like a grave. The Prophet, peace be upon him, said that we should frequently remember death, and called it the destroyer of all pleasures. And though this might have been an odd place to do so, I probably thought of it more in those few moments than I had over the last year. It's amazing that it took getting stuck in a bathroom to start thinking about what it would be like to be alone in the grave. But I guess that's the point. Expect the unpredictable at any time. And death is the ultimate unpredictable. It was dark, cold, and lonely. And suddenly every little sound was as loud as a jackhammer. Then I woke up to a nightmare that the fire that followed the grave was now to consume me, and that I could only hold off my inevitable fate for so long, because no one was going to hear or see me suffocate or burn. But Allah chose to spare me. The smoke alarm was in another unit, but the alarm I needed to hear was internal. So I did what I hadn't done for a long time and thought I had no time for it. No, it wasn't the best of places to start, but I had no choice, and surely my Lord is understanding and forgiving. Alhamdulillah. Suddenly there was clarity and an overwhelming sense that everything was going to be okay. Not because any person would hear me, but the only one who needed to hear me just did. The sounds started to come back, but this time they sounded real. And ironically, it turned out to be the one guy I'd actually done something nice for this year. John told me to look down and try turning the lever in the opposite direction. I really didn't get what he said till I actually tried it. And just like that, the turner of hearts turned my heart towards him. And as my Lord promised, everything was okay. Everything was okay. And though I thought I was alone throughout this entire ordeal, Allah was with me the entire time.
Horizon TV, the beacon for the nation.
Assalamu alaikum. Let's brighten up your morning. I am Aisha Khan and you're watching the Sabah Show.
Only on Horizon TV.
We're coming to you live from the heart of the city center. This is Horizon TV, the premier Islamic station. Now, this is the last segment of the newspaper review section. Now, looking at the Star on page 3, we have cut women more fertile. Don't demand for sexual intercourse, doctor tells court. Now, this is a human rights violation. What do you have to say about this, Edwin?
Well, we've seen also the complications some of these ladies go through when they are giving birth. But you know, the case is now actively before court, and I wouldn't want to engage in sub judice. But again, just a general observation is that this country has a law in place criminalizing FGM, and you know, it has proved to be a bad practice that has hurt so many girls, and we really cannot accelerate forward and then decelerate again. So I have confidence in the ability of the court to render its judgment in the best way and in the best interest of this country at heart, because our young girls who've been mutilated in the past have really had it rough. Yes, they say the mutilation reduces the sexual urge, but again, how is it increasing fertility? That's the question. And you know, we need scientists also to prove that, because again, but I know the doctor could be having some evidence somewhere that they should be presenting before court, and I don't know if she herself has undergone the cut to have, you know, first-hand proof than just to rely on facts and details here and there. So it's really a practice that I wouldn't wish to see any other girl go through. So I believe in the ability of the court to pronounce himself on it.
Now, Keegan, before I come to you, there has been, you know, the longest fight and protest against FGM by women who are from the northeastern region, where it takes place the most. So they have been championing against FGM. What do you have to say about this? Does this make sense?
Number one, the doctor is arguing that FGM, it increases infertility. And from where I sit, people don't undergo FGM seeking fertility. You know, there are many cases that have even been on the news where we have women who have sort of quote unquote made it, where we have women who are learned, we have professors, people who are leading big companies and big institutions, and what they do, they go back and undergo the cut. You see, you see such kind of circumstances, and this is particularly when they want to get married. So this tells you one thing: people undergo FGM to try and fit into the society. The case is in court. I wouldn't want to talk about it because it's sub judice, but for me, this is my take. Honestly, since I was a kid, I have always seen news after news after news, times without numbers, of girls dying in the process of FGM. That is a conversation. That is what we should be thinking about.
Amazing. Now, moving on to the Daily Nation, that is on page 16, tackle pregnancies among exam candidates and encourage them. Now, teenage pregnancy has become a major problem in the society. Now, day in, day out, you see newspapers are always tackling this topic of discussion, whereby even the girls themselves are committing suicide because of, you know, people shunning them off. Edwin, what do you have to say about this?
Well, we come down to how liberal we've become as Kenyans. And I was in Mathare sometime in August, and I was talking to teenage boys and girls, and they were very confident, and they were coming out strongly to say we must have sex, and they say it's just good, and they give you reasons. They quote, you know, research reports that prove sex is healthy and everything. So it's really hard to contain these teenage children, because again, we don't police mark them. We don't police them and move with them here and there. So when you leave them to go and interact, you never know what they do when they are out there. So, and when they come back home, you never can tell. You will not inspect. And because again, how do you do that? So, they just need to have proper upbringing, because again, you look at...
So it's the parents to blame for this?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
It's a wider spectrum of issues, because you look at mostly like slum areas. It's hard to really instill proper, you know, upbringing, because of course, the influence that is. You know, a kid in a leafy suburb is highly likely to toe the line than a kid in a slum area, because of that easy interaction with different minds that could
you know, these kids are having sex. You know, we just schools are big closed, right? And these kids, they're having sex because they don't have anything else to do. You know, this is the environment, the mindset. When other kids are busy with innovating things, you know, coming up with apps, having discussions on what do you see, garbage collecting, you know, things that improve the society. That kind of conversations, those kinds of perspectives are the ones missing. You know, these kids, they're having sex because that is what they're thinking, and they can't think past that. And it is high time that it's not just about the parents, it's also you as a person, as an individual, as a member of the society. Tell these youngsters, hey, come up with a project, do garbage collection, do this, go for a meeting, you know, discuss things, discuss how to do it. Not necessarily going there to just discuss school stuff. Discuss about even how this government is running, you know, discuss about many things. Don't just think sex.
So it is us as a society to bring our children up in the right way.
Absolutely.
So now moving on to page 22 of the Daily Nation. For quarry workers, it's either dicing with death or sinking in poverty. With no other means of livelihood, many work in the dangerous pits just to put food on the table. Dice with death or sink into poverty. This is the choice quarry workers in Meru County are faced with. Now they're losing their lives just to put food on their tables.
Allow me, this is very burning. You know, this is not just in the quarry. In almost every informal sector, our people, Kenyans, are working in the worst of conditions and getting the worst of pays. And we saw a month or two ago that this building at the bazaar, not far from here, that there was a cleaner standing, you know, at the it's not a balcony, you know, at the window, and then there is a small brick there where you can stand on and cleaning, and that's like almost on the top floors, and he wasn't wrapped on anything, you know, as a security measure, you know, safety measure. And I was wondering, I mean, who is there to protect these people, you know? But this is what I want to say. What do you expect when the person who's supposed to represent these people is throwing phones in studios of news
station.
of media stations, when the person who's supposed to fight and champions for the rights of these people is displaying some arrogance and pride by throwing some phones? What do you expect?
Edwin?
That's very dangerous, and it speaks in part of what struggles Kenyans are going through. You know, when you barely survive, you nearly do anything to survive. You can even hang on a straw just to save yourself from drowning. And you think of going hungry, and you think of the family at home waiting for you to bring a meal, and there with you, you have no hope. The only hope is to risk your life, at least to put a meal on the table. When you go into that quarry, you're not guaranteed of coming out of it. But again, the love you have for your family and the drive and the need to put food on the table sends you into that, unimaginable risk. But again,
Edwin, are these the kind of stories we have to read, where people, just to earn a living, they have to die? Honestly, what needs to be done?
Nobody should die because of risking to save a family a meal. We need, as a country, we are really pulling individually. We are highly, in any case, the rate at which the spirit of Arambe is quickly running out of this country, in this country. So we really need to come back to that spirit of Arambe and pull together. And that's why I was saying the government needs to turn on programs deliberately to alleviate these issues of, like this quarry thing. Because when programs are turned on deliberately, even if for just a short period of time, people will earn something and they'll start something. Because they're properly inducted, properly trained, and told, these monies that you're getting from this quarry, you need to start something with it. You understand? But again, the risk is this. If we start too many small businesses, some of them risk redundancy. They risk natural phase out because of duplication of services. If 10 stores stationed on the same lane are offering the same service, some of them risk closure. You understand? Because now, if I can get what I want in this first shop, I will not walk up to the 10th shop. You understand? So we need to really come together as a country, and because we have enough resources, to catapult the progress and development of this country. But again, we have bad politicians. We've elected bad politicians in place of leadership making bad decisions.
Aisha, we need to
Very briefly before
we need to formalize the informal sector, and by that I mean, number one, recognizing them. And we should have, like, for example, this quarry issue, we should have the people from there, it's in Meru, right? The people of the quarry workers in Meru to form something like an association or a group where they identify themselves and they tell their employers that you're not going to pay us anything less than this. These are the machines that are required. These and these safety measures are required here, and they should be supported by KOTU and the county governments and the government in general.
Thank you so much for making time and coming here to discuss, stories making the top headlines in our country. It's very sad we have to read many sad things happening in our country, but we pray for a day through our conversations today that Kenya will change one day and become one of the most developed countries.
Can I say something just briefly?
Yes, very briefly.
Thank you. Under the Big Four agenda, healthcare is very, very much important. The president will leave a solid legacy if he'll make sure that the 36 million plus Kenyans who are outside the coverage system are put on a healthcare program, so that the health of these Kenyans, when you touch the life of that poor Kenyan out there, when you touch the life of that person in Kibra, in Madare, in that village somewhere in this country, you are touching a life that will remember you forever. Let us prioritize health. Let us deal with health matters, and the president will have solidified his legacy. He will leave an indelible mark in the lives of these people. Let the president appreciate the innovation, creativity, and productivity of our young people. Young people will wish to forget President Kenyatta if he will do nothing to save the joblessness claims that we are having as a country. Young people will not want to associate themselves with anything to do with President Kenyatta if he will keep sidestepping young people in appointments and not taking deliberate steps to appreciate and empower these young people. Let the president embrace young people, because we are the future of this country. The Big Four will be remembered in the years to come if young people will embody it, but it will die if they don't.
Thank you so much for that, Edwin. Thank you so much for that. Now, tomorrow, Jamia Mosque will be having their annual open day. That is Jamia Mosque, Nairobi, where we'll be having live debates. We'll be having question and answer sessions. There will also be refreshments. And of course, all are welcome, because we are here to promote togetherness amongst different faiths. Thank you so much for tuning in to this session of the newspaper review section.
Assalamu alaikum. Let's brighten up your morning. I am Aisha Khan and you're watching the Sabah Show, only on Horizon TV.
Horizon TV, the beacon for the nation.
Practice this direction from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala perfectly.
Reminders